I hate plosives. They kill my audio, and they're probably killing yours as well. And if you've got a mic in front of your face, you have to worry about plosives. Whether you're a content creator, podcaster, vocalist, whatever, the good news is there are a bunch of ways to reduce or totally get rid of plosives, and I'm going to share with you some great techniques for taming them. And at the end of the video, I'll share with you my personal setup as a content creator. Now, a plosive is that burst of air coming out of your mouth when you say certain sounds, and the most common offenders are words with P sounds or B sounds. You can even feel that burst of air when you put your hand up to your mouth. Puh, puh. You should try it. Also, some of this air comes shooting out of your nose too, which is kind of weird to think about, but that little hurricane of wind can totally wreck your audio track. I feel like as I'm talking, I'm saying way more P sounds than usual. Am I just imagining that? So first off, your mic choice can make a big difference when it comes to plosives. And the most common microphone types are condenser mics and dynamic mics. And condenser microphones have a lot of technological advantages over dynamic mics. They usually have a wider frequency response. They're also more sensitive, so they don't require as much amplification, and they also handle transients better, which means they can do really well with sudden spikes of sound like on drums. However, some of the advantages of a condenser mic actually work against you when it comes to plosives. Plosives are sudden bursts of sound, kind of like a drum in your mouth, and they have a lot of low frequency noise in them. So the better transient response and the better frequency response do a great job of faithfully recording those plosives, which we don't really want to do. So all things being equal, a dynamic mic is going to be more forgiving with plosives than a condenser mic. Check out the difference between these two mics from Fifine. They're both budget mics, but one's a dynamic and the other is a condenser. This is the Fifine K669C, a condenser mic. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. This is the Fifine K669D, a dynamic microphone. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. But that doesn't mean you have to use a dynamic microphone. In fact, condensers have wildly different responses to plosives, even condenser mics from the same manufacturer. For example, the budget-minded X1A from SE Electronics does a far better job of handling plosives than the more expensive SE2200. This is the SE Electronics X1A. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. This is the SE Electronics SE2200. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now, just because a mic is very sensitive to plosives does not mean it's a bad mic. Far from it. There are $2,000 microphones, maybe $5,000 microphones that just get crushed by plosives. And while you might associate plosives with studio mics, you can even have plosive problems with other microphones like lavalier mics, wireless mics, shotgun mics. Keep in mind also that most USB mics are condenser mics, and plosives can easily be a problem with them if you're not careful. Now, some mics have built-in pop filters, which makes them ideal for using up close. For example, the SE Electronics DynaCaster, which is what I'm using right here, and it's a dynamic microphone, by the way. It has an internal pop filter as well as the external filter that you see here. And we'll talk about external pop filters in a moment. Now, if your mic has a low-end roll-off filter, also known as a high-pass filter, then that might help keep plosives from ruining your audio. Now, they don't actually reduce the plosive, but since a plosive has a lot of low frequencies in it, they don't sound as obvious if you roll off the lows. However, this will EQ the sound of your audio overall. But by rolling off the lows from your plosive sounds, you're less likely to get weird pumping sounds if you're running your audio through a compressor or limiter. And most high-pass filters on microphones are tuned to roll off frequencies below what your voice has in it, so you probably won't notice a whole lot of difference. Okay, let's talk about pop filters. These are also sometimes called windscreens, and they come in different varieties, which we'll talk about. But even if your mic has a built-in pop filter, you should still always use an external pop filter on your mic, at least if you're speaking or singing into it. This is because mics get destroyed over time by spit and gunk coming from your mouth, and a pop filter would keep that juiciness out of your mic, and it's cheaper to replace a pop filter than it is the whole mic. So always use a pop filter with vocals. Some mics come with foam pop filters that fit over the head basket like what you see here. Or if your mic didn't come with one, it's pretty easy to buy one that fits. There are some advantages to these foam filters. For example, they're easy to put on. They're also small, so they don't present a problem if you're using your mic on camera. And if you have to buy one for your mic, they're cheaper than the alternative. Heck, some of these mics are actually designed to sound best when the pop filter is on. When Lauten sent me the LS-208, they said, use it with the foam filter because the mic sounds brighter than it's supposed to if I don't. Now, the downside to foam filters, though, is that they will often reduce the high frequencies more noticeably than other options do. And in many cases, they don't do as good a job as the other type I'm going to tell you about, which is the circular pop filter. You've seen these in movies and videos even if you've never used one yourself. And the circular pop filter is, well, a circle. It usually has a bendable arm to attach it to your mic or mic stand. Hang on, I think I have one here. The circle itself is often some type of thin nylon or acoustically transparent material, so often there'll be like 2 or 3 layers of this, which helps cut down on those bursts of air. And the major advantage to these is that they don't usually change the sound of your mic that much. Now, no pop filter is completely transparent to high frequencies. There's always going to be some change in the sound of your mic when you use one, but these circular ones tend to change it less. So this particular circular pop filter is not designed to work with my boom arm, but this is kind of how you would place it. And I'm going to get rid of it now because otherwise I have to hold it for the rest of the video. But another advantage to circular filters is that they leave an air gap between your mouth and the mic. And that works better for plosive reduction than having the pop filter right up against the head basket. Circular pop filters sometimes come in the form of a metal grill instead. Some manufacturers claim that this makes them sound even better than fabric-based pop filter. For example, the Electronics SE2200 comes with a metal pop filter like what you see here. I'm sure every model of pop filter will work differently, but most of them don't mess with your sound too badly. A little EQ is usually enough to compensate if you need to. Of course, there are downsides to these circular pop filters as well. First off, they're big. If you're using them on camera, then they're kind of a problem. No one can see your face. Also, they tend to be a little fussy. Now, that's not a big deal if you just leave it in place all the time, but it's a pain if you're always setting up your mic for each session. Unfortunately, I have never met a pop filter that can get rid of every plosive, and I have never met a mic that is completely free from plosives either. You see, how you speak or sing into your mic has a lot to do with how problematic plosives can be. Oh God, I swear, I'm not trying to come up with these P words. First off, if you can put a little distance between you and the mic, it'll reduce the impact of the plosive. And this is because that air burst can spread out and get a little weaker. And if you're a podcaster or a content creator, though, you're probably wanting to be right up on the mic like I am now, so maybe that's not an option. However, you don't need to have the mic directly in front of your mouth. You'll get essentially the same sound though if you have the microphone offset at an angle from your mouth, basically pointing at the corner of your mouth. And what this does, it lets the main force of the plosive shoot right by the mic. If you're on camera, this has the added benefit of getting it out of your face a little as well. So what do I do when I want to get rid of plosives, which is like all the time? Well, first off, I get a microphone with an internal pop filter because I need to get up really close to the mic usually. Something like the DynaCaster right here or the LS-208, for example, and then I smack a foam pop filter on the mic instead of using a round windscreen because I want you to be able to see at least some of my face. And finally, I move the mic over so that it's pointed at the side of my mouth, letting those big puffs of air go sailing right by. But what should you do? Well, I think you should watch this video next.